Now it's live.
Now it's live. Okay, so first of all, sorry in advance to everybody. My phone has decided that it is going to say it is trying to join the call, but it has not. So I might have to do the whole stream through the laptop. Yeah, it's not connecting. So I'm gonna have to do the stream through the laptop. So I'm really sorry. Best if it gets really bad, let me know and I'll just turn off my camera. Oops. 1 second. Oops. So it was playing the ad and the audio was coming through. You can tell it's not been a good week for me. So if for whatever reason the audio gets really bad, guys, or Jimmy, please let me know and I will shut off my camera unless I need it. So all I'm streaming is the audio because not everybody needs to see my face. And if I need to, I'll jump on screen share or throw stuff in the chat. So if anybody's wondering why it doesn't look the best, that's why. So sorry about that.
No worries, man. Is it toggling back and forth on your end?
Oops, I forgot to undo it. There we go.
Because all I see is me on the playback. That's not entertaining.
You can tell it's been a long day. Daylight savings time has definitely kicked my butt. I'm going to put it that way. My body keeps telling me it's like 12 midnight or 2 in the morning, and I'm like, it's only 10 o'clock.
Oh, man. Yeah, I know it was that work tonight. It was just, we're just standing there. It's like, oh, it's time to go home, isn't it? No, we got another hour. Rick says he's beginning to hate the Formlab ad.
I don't blame him. It is super, super irritating.
They're really pushing the holiday season.
Nothing against the machine, but the ad is just like, ah. Once you've seen it 5 times, you've seen it more than enough times.
Yep. So I see we've got Rick in the house. We've got Zipcord in the house.
That'd be my dad.
I see Nancy. Nancy's in the house. How you doing, Nancy? She's getting ready to take a flight out here to California pretty soon.
Oh, man.
I think she's coming out Friday.
Oh, nice. Everybody be traveling.
I mean it.
Well, do we want to get started with the actual topic for tonight's stream? Not my dad and your relative and everybody else is in the chat, which is totally awesome. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Okay, go ahead. I know you want to pick apart a machine. Go ahead. Go on your drunken rage.
I need me some more adult drink in here.
I'll just be over here sipping my Kool-Aid. Go for it, man.
Don't worry, this is just melted ice cubes in the bottom. For those who know the joke, they will get it, but we're not going to say who it's at. Not even going there.
Okay, so tonight's topic is about multi-purpose machines. Do we need them? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Jimmy pretty much just summed up probably about an hour of us going back and forth complaining about stuff in a nutshell. But yeah, the main point behind this stream is more or less, it seems like now all of a sudden to sell machines, people have decided that it's somehow some wonderfully smart idea to all of a sudden go attaching add-ons to a machine that may or may not actually, 1, be smart, 2, be safe, or 3, even really be practical outside of like a marketing, I hate to use the term gimmick, but more like a marketing ploy, if you will. It's not that it can't function, it's just it's so inefficient that yes, it might work, but in reality, unless you're doing like trivial one-off stuff, it's not really anything more than a nifty little trinket that gets used a couple of times and that's it. If that makes sense to you guys.
Okay, the machine that's that we are loosely referring to is what, a Kickstarter one? That's called the Muse, or what's that thing called?
Loosely, I'm referring to the Muse, but there's a lot of other
Yeah.
machines that have come out that have done either a great job or a not so great job of combining multiple processes. And I'm going to make this clear from the start. I'm not hating on the concept of a machine that can do more than one thing. I think that's a very good idea if it's properly implemented. The problem is the implementation of it. Now, an example of a machine that was done really well that a lot of you guys in the 3D printing community are probably familiar with is the Trinus 3D printer. It came out a while ago that Lauren from A-Buzz Designs has. Angus got, I think Joel got one. When it first came out, it had a little bit of hiccups, which is typical with that with any kind of Kickstarter machine in the prototyping phase. But it definitely, while there's still some issues that I have with it from a safety standpoint, overall as a machine, I think it actually is a very good implementation of a quote multi-purpose machine. And for the purposes of multi-purpose machine, I'm talking a machine that can do more than one task, but it has to be a totally different thing. So it kind of be a good example would be somebody has a 3D printer, but then they make an attachment, so it now becomes a pen plotter. Multi-purpose machine, or having a laser cutter that can also cut vinyl with a little drag knife. I'm kind of making this stuff up as I go, but it's kind of give you guys an idea of what I kind of mean by it is a machine that can do multiple things that are vastly different. And it really is interesting to, when you really think about it, to see examples of where it's done right and examples of where it's kind of like, okay, yeah, you had a good concept, but you really kind of nosedived on the implementation of it.
Here's my issue. Now, I have actually contacted Muse and asked them if they'd like to send one out for review. I'd be more than happy to check one out to give it a fair shake. My only concern when it comes to a multi-purpose machine is whenever you have one that does 3D printing and you have one that does laser engraving, those two things together could be all right. But when you couple that along with what they're considering a CNC, which is, let's face it, it's just a woodworking engraver is what it is. Because I can't see a machine like that being heavy duty enough to work with metal or brass or anything metallic of any sort. But when you start bringing in woodworking and that kind of stuff into it, now you're dealing with dust, you're dealing with wood shavings and stuff like that, which is going to mess up your build area when it comes to 3D printing, because you don't want dust around your filament. You don't want dust around your hot ends and stuff like that, or you're going to get clogs. And when it comes to laser etching, I can't see that having dust around a laser engraver is going to be very good for the machine either, because you got to have that being a very fine focused beam in order to do the job it needs to do.
No, Jimmy's 100% correct on that. And my take on it is, one thing that I know from watching videos and talking to people who work with professional grade laser cutters is you don't keep that lens pristinely clean, especially on high power machines, such as like what Travis over at A-Pyro Design works with, that can just blast through metal literally like it's paper. It's crazy. If that thing starts to get a buildup of stuff on the lens that focuses the beam, that stuff will literally cause that lens to get burned and destroyed. So like what Jimmy said, you get junk on that lens, wood dust, metal dust, doesn't really matter, crap of any kind that gets on there, it will get burnt on there and you will nuke the lens, or it will still function, but its power will be greatly diminished. The other problem I have with the machine is, and this is just me coming at it from a machinist standpoint, I even commented on the Facebook page for it, kind of like, why did you guys do this? The thing that makes no sense is Moose decided to use a drill chuck to hold milling and engraving tools. And I know I'm going to sound a bit like a finicky machinist here, but
you are.
I don't care. There's a reason why I'm a finicky machinist, Jimmy, and I'm going to get into it in just a minute, okay?
Go ahead, finicky machinist. Let's hear it.
So, finicky machinist speaking here, after working and volunteering at 2 different machine shop training programs, I can't say how many times people have stuck in milling cutters, which are designed to, generally speaking, cut the edge of a part, into a drill chuck, and decide to use the drill chuck to hold the end mills and go milling through parts with them. Well, the first thing to keep in mind is a drill chuck is only designed for vertical loads in the Z-axis plane, not side loads. It works great only in the vertical plane because that's all the force you're going to get when drilling is just straight up and down, so that's all it's designed to do. Well, the problem is when you start to use it in a side loading application is a whole bunch of stuff can go wrong, but in short, usually what happens is the drill chuck goes from being straight to being crooked, and sometimes you can see that drill bit spinning in a pretty big circle. You can jam up the little jaws inside, and if you're really unlucky, you can just jam the whole thing into the machine. It becomes a real nightmare to remove. And the fourth thing is, drill chucks were never designed to hold end mills with the kind of force required to hold them in place. So what you'll have happen is the end mill will either start slipping in there, which is really bad, or it'll literally start sucking itself out of the holder, and you'll just start cutting a nice deeper and deeper and deeper groove until your tool breaks. So the thing that I have a really big problem with is why it's super common to have collets. Dremels use them. Routers for cutting tabletops and sticking on your CNC machine have them. I really don't get, and I have not gotten a response. Mind you, I posted it about, I forget if it was earlier today or late last night or something. I posted the comments, so I'm not expecting them to get back to me instantly about it, but I'm really curious to know why on earth they call it a milling attachment, but yet they put a drill chuck on the thing. And I'm just sitting there scratching my head going, oh, heck no, you didn't. Oh, no, you didn't. Oh, boy, this is going to get real ugly fast. And I don't want to sound like I'm being overly snobbish here, but it's actually a big safety hazard having a drill chuck on there, holding a milling cutter, cutting through things. It's just, I don't get it. And I'd love to know their explanation as to why they did that, but that to me just screams, I hate to say it, but we kind of thought of the CNC attachment as an afterthought and then kind of really didn't know what we were doing. So maybe that's why we did it that way. And I'd love to be corrected by them, but it's just not the proper way to go about doing a CNC milling attachment, regardless of what your intended goals are. It just looks really bad and it can cause more problems than you would expect.
Well, what's the normal RPMs of a CNC milling tool?
All depends upon the machine. In the case of my mill at home that I do all the work on camera with, that one revs out at 5,000 RPM. But your average, say, router spindle on, say, like a CNC router that people say cut cabinets with or tabletops is easily between 10 to 30,000 RPM would be my guess. I know that there are air spindles for precision machining with really tiny tools that'll get up to about 50 to 100,000 RPM, but that's highly specialized, highly expensive equipment to pull that off.
And a drill chuck is, let's face it, drill chuck is meant for what, up to 500 RPM?
It depends. I mean, it all depends upon which one you get. But yeah, I would say a drill chuck would probably max out at around 1,000 RPM. I'm going on the high side here, but I'm also talking like you're getting a decent quality drill chuck here, not the cheapest one that you can find off eBay and throw it in your drill press and wonder why it wobbles all over the place.
Yeah.
So it also depends upon what you're talking about as well, because quality does play a role in how well it works until you abuse it.
That's the thing. It just sounds like the piece that they're using in this is not really intended for the job that they're using it for. And that's, I see where the point where you're coming from.
And I always feel like when I, comment on somebody's video where they don't know about something, and I'm like, look, I understand that you personally don't know that this is a bad idea, but it's just a bad idea in general. You should never do it. And there's a reason why it's not called a milling chuck. It is a drill chuck. There's a reason why. They do sell milling chucks, but these are things that are like really big around that clamp onto the tools with like thousands of pounds of force. You have literally a torque ratcheting tool that you tighten it down with. I mean, these are like really expensive tool holders designed to hold tools, big tools for heavy roughing applications so they don't pull out. There's a reason why it's called a milling chuck, not a drilling chuck.
But yeah, I mean, your aspect of it is more on the safety end of it. Mine, I lean more toward the how nasty is it going to make your work area. I mean, I could see maybe having a vacuum cleaner close by and trying to suck up all the stuff, but at the same time, you're still going to have a certain amount of residue that's going to get left behind that I can't be very good for being around 3D printing and the laser etching.
No, well, the other thing that's a really good point that you brought up is the fact that even if you're just cutting wood on the machine, wood is actually extremely abrasive. And the fear I have is, unless you can find a way to magically keep every single little fleck of wood out of every single little moving component, wood is really nasty stuff when it mixes with grease or oil. It just forms this nasty caked on garbage that you almost have to literally chip off with a hammer and chisel or dunk the whole thing into a vat of solvent for a couple of hours to break it down. And also just from a safety standpoint, it's a really big fire hazard as well, because effectively you have created the ultimate all-weather fire starter. Pretty much what you've taken is a petroleum-based substance that burns good. You've given it a wick, mixing it all together, and all it needs is a good heat source, and you have a fire potential. I mean, it's an extreme example, but it's, it's just not good for the mechanical components to get wood garbage or metal garbage, or say you're even just milling printed circuit boards, getting fiberglass garbage all in that stuff. Unless it's been sealed up properly or you're taking the time to clean everything really well, you're going to probably wear your mechanical stuff out very, very, very quickly.
Yeah. Are you reading the chat?
I'm keeping up with the chat. So sorry, guys, if I'm not directly in stream responding to it. I'm trying to for once actually stay on topic on the show for a little bit and then venture off. But I guess I'll bring up a few things that were mentioned in the chat really fast. Chris said that the router on his C-beam runs in the range of 17 to 27,000 RPM, which is the approximate range that I gave. Mind you, different routers run at different speeds and things like that, but stuff like that. And then NLTW said side load forces are handled better by a milling chuck, correct, or a collet system. Drill chucks are designed for axial loads, which is in the vertical direction for you non-machinists, and radial loads are from the side. And then Chris commented again, drilling chucks don't provide enough physical contact on your bit to safely hold it at those speeds. And he said it's a 3-point connection, not a full circular grab. That is correct, although I will say that I have drilled at higher RPMs with the drill chuck, but this is with tiny, 1/8-inch drill bits. So obviously the load on something like that's going to be very minimal. I'm not talking like a big 3-inch drill bit that I'm shoving into a piece of plastic, but I have actually had, even in collet systems, a little bit of oil had formed between the drill shank and the collet itself, and I actually had, I think it was like a 1 3/8 drill bit in aluminum actually spinning in the collet at one point at my old job. So we literally took everything apart, cleaned everything off with alcohol, put it back together again, and got it to work. But, you know, even then, using the proper stuff, you can still have stuff spinning in extreme load situations, though. So it goes to show that just because you're using the right tooling doesn't mean that it's an instant slam dunk. It's always going to work. Keeping up with the chat, Jamie?
Yep.
I'm just staring at you, like blankly staring off in his face, like, what's going on? Like
Average Joe 3D printing is saying, hey, hey, hey.
I'm like, did the set catch on fire off camera or something like that? You know?
Burn.
The next shot is Jimmy grabbing the fireball and throwing it into the mythical fire that does not exist.
I actually do keep that next to all my 3D printers. Now when I have them printed when I'm going to be gone, I just have it sitting there next to them just in case.
Hey, better safe than sorry. I'll put it that way. Even though until we conduct our tests, I'm not going to be fully sure how well something like that would work. But, you know, you never know.
Yeah, it makes me feel better.
So my dad commented, a drill check safety valve. Harbor Freight drills. The bit fails long before the check is taxed. Yeah, those things, if you stare at them wrong, they're pretty much toasted.
They do.
Nathan was saying stuff happens, things get spilled and hot, start to expand, so many things can happen. You're talking in terms of when things go wrong with machining? Oh, heck yes. If it can go wrong, it has gone wrong, and it will go wrong, and it's scary when it goes wrong if it's big and scary.
So what's another machine that you've seen recently that's a multi-purpose one?
Well,
so we're not picking on one particular machine.
Not exactly recently, but one thing I was going to say was an example of a multi-purpose that I would say was done right, that I had mentioned a little bit at the beginning, was the Trinus. Now, the one complaint that I have with it is purely from a safety standpoint, is there was no real visible laser shielding of any kind. The one thing that it, at least in the videos, promotional ones from Moose, that they had was this whole frosted acrylic box that you put over the machine that made it laser safe. But the problem is, when I saw Garrett over at Chaos Cortex video and some other videos from people, I did not see them unboxing that laser safety box, nor did I see any laser safety glasses included. So that's a little bit concerning, although not fully
because
sure.
even your $69 laser engravers that they have now come with safety glasses.
I'm dubious about their quality. I actually have a pair of certified to block out certain wavelengths of laser light glasses. But yeah, at least they included something. Although I will say, from doing research, you do need the specialized glasses to actually protect yourself. It's definitely not, oh, I'm going to slap on a welding hood, or I'm going to slap on some sunglasses. It's something that requires specially engineered plastics that block out the certain wavelengths. I'm not going to get into the details of it because I'm not fully sure how it all works, but effectively you need some kind of laser safety shielding, preferably some kind of shield that gets put up, because if you stare at that laser wrong, especially at those higher powers, is all it takes to permanently damage your eye, even if it's just reflection. It's crazy.
Well, I've my chiropractor, he has a setup where it's the cold laser, and they've used that on me a few times. And they actually, even if you're laying down, they want you to put those glasses on, because even the light in the room, just the light in the room can blind you.
Oh yeah.
So they just, for safety, you have to wear the glasses anytime you're inside that room, and that door has to be closed, and they're very particular about it.
No, I mean, yeah, definitely. That's a good example of something that's a medical grade device. I'm not exactly sure what the power output of it is, but yeah, there's a really good example where it's like when I go to the orthodontist and they're doing anything with UV curing the sealants, or in my case, like aligners for my Invisalign or things like that. I have to wear the orange safety glasses. The helper, if there is one, has to do it, and the person doing it has to do it because the risk is there, because it's effectively a UV laser. I mean, that thing can burn the crap out of your eyes like that if you're not careful.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, there's a really good example of, personally, I think laser cutters and laser engravers are actually more dangerous than a CNC machine, just because when you see something spinning, you're kind of like, oh, okay, I should probably, keep my distance or wear safety glasses. But when you're, especially if you're dealing with a laser that you can't see the visible light from, like a CO2 one, which is infrared, you could burn your eyeballs out before you even realize that there was a problem. Obviously,
Right.
machines use visible wavelengths, but still, the risk is there. And I feel like people need to, I'm not calling anybody out on this. I'm not saying that people, have not been on their own taking their own precautions, but just in general, people, I think, get kind of lulled into this false sense of security and don't realize actually how dangerous this stuff could be, if not treated with the utmost in care, regardless of what it is. I don't care what machine it is, but some of them are just a little more dangerous than others. That's all.
I see Chelsea's in the house. How you doing?
What's up? So Chelsea made a really good point. She said, yeah, Moose is still on Kickstarter. It's still an ongoing Kickstarter. This is probably about the only time that you're ever going to hear me talking about a Kickstarter that's currently going. And, like I always say, if you guys want to back something or not, I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money and what to do with your life. But if you decide to back it, that's cool. I mean, I will admit it is a very cool concept for a machine. So I'm not knocking them on the concept or anything like that. I just think the execution could have been slightly better done. But Chelsea made a good point. She goes, but sending glasses and stuff for laser safety for people, they sent beta units too. Should have been a must. Agreed. I really hope that, it's not indicative of what's going to happen in the future, that they show you're going to get something, but they kind of don't. I mean, that to me is a little bit concerning, that they show a complete machine with the laser safety box over the thing. It could have been a really high quality rendering, but I mean, getting laser safety acrylic is not that hard to do. If you look for 10 minutes, you can find it all over the place. It's a little bit concerning, though, that they would cut corners, especially on review machines like that. To me at least, it doesn't send the best impression. I mean, obviously, I understand it's still an ongoing project, but at least from a review standpoint, it is not the best way to start things off, if you ask me.
Rick says when you spend $70,000 on a laser scanner, you don't get safety glasses.
Well, I think that one's using eye-safe lasers, but I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rick. So Chris made a good point. The problem with these is just like the bottom barrel printers. Well, everybody's freezing up there. One sec. So the problem with these is just like the bottom money printers. The consumers aren't educated. They don't get laser glasses with the kit. How are they supposed to know they need them? Boom.
Yep. That's exactly right. Especially when it comes to a hobby machine like that, because good and well, it's not always going to be grown-ups that's going to be wanting them. So go for it.
Oh, I was going to say, I'll bet you there's a whole bunch of kids now who are tech savvy who go, hey, Mom, Dad, can I have this for a birthday, Christmas, and like New Year's, and throw in some allowance money gift? Because, I mean, it's a low-cost thing. I mean, it's intriguing. I do not have space for more equipment, and I don't need one. But I will admit, if I only have one machine and I just wanted to have something to goof around with, it is tempting. It is an interesting concept, but yeah, that's a very good point, though, is that I can it's one of those things that if you're going to play with lasers or play with CNC tools, you need some kind of enclosure, like on a Carvey or a Nomad 883, that at least tries to not so much contain the mess, but if something goes wrong, it gives you an extra layer of safety there against something flying out and hitting you. I mean, it's still no excuse to not wear safety glasses, but at least it's another layer of protection.
Right. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. There's I keep on Facebook, I keep having this one ad keeps popping up. That's for like a $65 or $68 laser engraver. Every time that pops up, I'm looking at that thing. I just know eventually I'm going to end up pulling the trigger on it.
So let's see. Nathan Allen made a really good comment. When you consumers tend to not respect the safety aspect of a lot of tools. Oh, geez, yes. I'll admit I do not have the world's greatest track record with tools, but I thank God I still got 10 fingers, 2 eyes, and 2 ears still. You know.
How many toes you got left?
8.
Who needs still toes, right?
No, I still got all 10. I just, could not walk into that one. Bad Jimmy strikes again. NLTMW said the moves looks a lot, brain fart. The moves looks like a lot of other similar units, like they're just buying Chinese stock parts. That's actually, yeah, I mean, I love the modular design of the machine. That's a really cool concept. But yeah, I almost wonder if you could just cruise around AliExpress for a while and almost build your own machine in an afternoon, if you will, just hunting around and finding pre-made linear drives and a couple of other things. And, oh, look, I got a machine. You have to do your own firmware and stuff, and it might not be as pretty, but that would actually be an interesting project to try and duplicate some of this stuff with just components you can easily find online. And then Chelsea said, yeah, a lot of people who are going to buy a low-cost machine like that aren't going to know anything, in all caps, about lasers or CNC like us for the most part. At least we were smart enough to do some research. A lot of people won't. They'll just start screwing around.
Yep.
Totally true. And I actually give Garrett a lot of credit and tell him if he needs any help with machining stuff, give me a holler. I'd be more than willing to try and help. I think a lot of people don't realize how difficult machining is until they actually do it. And then they realize it's not as easy as they thought, or they run into a lot of problems. And, it's, you kind of get where I'm going with the drift. I'm going a little brain fartish right now. But the main point is, it's, I guess the one thing, like I've always said, is I don't have any problems with people having better access to machinery. I just have a problem with a bunch of people who don't understand how to use the machinery properly having access to dangerous machinery.
Yeah, and then whenever they lose an eye or something, then they're going to go on the warpath. That's just the nature of things.
Oh yeah, Chris said that's the key right there. You're exposed enough to know to do your own research. How many people buy things not realizing it even needs batteries, though, let alone safety gear? Yeah, that is totally true. I mean, I kind of feel like for the danger in quotes factor of a 3D printer, the worst that can happen is you burn yourself, you put some ice on it, and maybe you put some burn cream on it. And that's quite honestly about the extent of your average 3D printer injury with the machine itself. Now, I'm not saying you can't get injured dealing with the prints after printing. I'm just saying that injuries created by the machine itself, other than dropping it on your foot or falling it on your head, but those are freak incidents. I'm talking the machine itself actively injures you. And I'll admit, I have burnt myself on my 3D printer. Nothing major, but just enough that it stings, and you're like, that was stupid. I won't make that mistake again. Like grabbing a hot nozzle or grabbing a hot wrench, like right after you worked on the hot end, and you keep forgetting that thing's still probably like 150 degrees from like sitting on that heater block for a minute. Yeah, that wakes you up real fast at 3 in the morning.
You're like, I'll never do that again until next time.
Next time at 3 in the morning, I won't do that again. But yeah, I kind of feel like, I hate to sound like we need people to take like a week-long safety course before buying one of these machines, but knowing people and their lack of skills at completing basic tasks, sometimes I almost feel like it's a requirement that before you buy one of these things, you need to take like a safety course or something, you know.
I'm sure it's coming. There'll be somebody pass a law.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not Mr. Nanny State or anything like that, but you know, given the fact that machinery that used to only be accessed by people who had the skills, the knowledge, the wherewithal, and the resources to use it, and now it's in everybody's hands, it goes both ways. But it's definitely not like a computer game where if you screw up, you can, you know, hit the restart button, or you screw up on a drawing on the computer and you hit the undo button. You know, this is stuff that can cause permanent, serious injury and damage. And you know, I'm not saying that it will instantly kill you, but it could cause serious injury regardless.
Oh yeah, when you start dealing with both the CNC style machine and you're dealing with lasers, then you're moving in a whole new territory compared to 3D printing.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like when we were checking out the laser up there with Travis and Heather. Now, that one, they actually had glasses there for us to, anytime we were going to be looking at where the laser was cutting, we had to wear the glasses. Otherwise, the way that was set up, it was so close to everything, and it had like a shield around it and everything, where you couldn't really see it unless you were looking directly at where the beam was coming through. And if you're doing that, then of course you had to wear the glasses because you're concentrating on it. But these machines are up high to where they're shooting through the what, 4 inches above the item being engraved.
Oh yeah,
to where there's all kinds of light coming out into the room, and that's where I think a lot of the difference is between a thousands and thousands of dollars machine compared to one that's on your tabletop.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you know, you ultimately can't engineer anything to be 1,000% foolproof, but I definitely feel like something sure as heck beats nothing when it comes to something like this. But I definitely feel like, you know, there needs to be more safety stuff. And we all know if you're trying to do this in the United States and you're trying to sell this thing, oh my gosh, the regulatory crap you would have to go through and the certifications that you'd have to get for stuff would be just endless. Safety labels everywhere. Does it have lockouts? Does it have this? I'm not saying that those are not really useful things, but obviously that's why a lot of this stuff is, you know, import, is because you can get around a lot of the restrictions, and especially because it's classified as a quote kit, you know, you kind of get where I'm going. Like what Angus said in his view, if you're, you know, building it yourself and something goes wrong, it's your own fault. They can't hold you liable. Even if you built it correctly, they can say, well, sorry, you built it, not our fault.
Oh, Joel's in it. How you doing, Joel? He says the Carvey is a very decent step forward towards making CNC milling more safe for general audience. And from what I've seen about it, it seems like a pretty decent machine.
I'm just curious, does it have any kind of door interlock where if you open up the front case on the machine, it stops the spindle, or is it just kind of passive? It just has the front door and it, comes on and off. Just a curiosity question from a safety standpoint, because I know the big machines that I used to work on had a door interlock, and being that the company that I used to work for closed down a while ago, I don't feel too bad saying this, and it's pretty common practice in the industry as well. Even though there are door interlocks that will literally physically lock the doors so you cannot open them, let's just say that we found ways to very quickly defeat that. But obviously, it was one of those cases of if something went wrong, it was clearly nobody's fault but our own if we got injured doing that. So there are ways to get around that, but it's definitely like, if you're going to do that, it's very much a do it at your own risk, and we assume absolutely zero liability as the company if you decide to go around our safety interlocks, which I think it's a very good idea, though, that they have those safety interlocks there.
Joel said yes. Open the door, the spindle stops, I believe.
Sounds fair enough to me. Let's see. He said, plus the Muse as a hobby laser has 7 different ways the laser stops lasering or cutting or shooting a deadly beam out to keep the user safe. 7 interlocks? That is seriously insane, but I don't blame them for having that many interlocks just to play it safe.
Yeah.
You can never be too safe.
But see, that's the thing about a multi-purpose machine, is because it's multi-purpose, you can't have all those interlocks and all the different safety features that a machine that's specifically made to do a certain job. You can't have that all in there, because you've got where you got to change this tool out, you got to change that tool out. I can't see how they can really incorporate all the safety measures into one.
No, it's totally true. It's difficult to do. I mean, let's face it. My milling machine downstairs has 2 emergency stop buttons. One of them is on the computer interface, and the other one literally is connected to the control board. If I break that connection electrically, it literally depowers all the motors, cuts power to the spindle, and pretty much just locks the machine up on the spot. It's crazy. But, obviously that's my own personal machine. That's like the only safety interlock it has, besides literally just tripping the power to the computer, the mill, and the spindle all at once. But it's also a homemade CNC conversion, and it wouldn't pass many safety checks, I think. But because I made it myself, I made it myself, and I assume the responsibilities for it. But yeah, having those safety interlocks is, even if it's just something as simple as you open the door and something turns off, it's good. At least it's something.
Hi, Keith.
Hi, Keith.
So like Joel was saying, I imagine he's talking about the Carvey. That's so far so good. It's been enclosed with it keeps the mess enclosed, it looks like. Well, my eyes are messing up at the moment.
You're having a Calvin happen.
But it looks like the noise and the mess is kept inside. That's the most important thing. And where the multi-purpose machines are coming in, from what I understand, they don't have an enclosure, do they?
No, I mean, you could rig your own up if you wanted to, but it's not a purpose-built enclosure by any means. And it's frustrating. When I say frustrating, just in terms of, even if it was something as simple as an acrylic or cheap polystyrene box with an acrylic front that you just put over the machine. Yeah. Something sure beats the pants off of nothing. And I'll put it this way. When you're dealing with stuff that's spinning, it will find ways to fling things in the places that you never thought was even possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. You'll be like, how the heck did I get a pile of copper chips back there when I was milling over here? Just, it does what it does,
With that said, though, I'd still like to see that machine up close.
You know which one that I'd love to see up close, right?
Which one?
The Nomad, the one that I was like drilling over at Maker Faire. But I still
Oh
am.
my goodness. Seriously, that company needs to get you one. You'd be like, this is the greatest machine ever. You'd be going all over the place. You'd be taking it around town, everything else. Buy one, buy one.
I go on the subway, I plug the thing into the secret power socket that does not exist, and just like sit on the train, like carving parts on my way home. So Joe was saying, are you talking multi-purpose like moves or FormBot with laser? Correct. I'm talking multi-purpose, kind of like the Trinus as well. For those who are just joining, I am not anti-multi-purpose machine. I think it's a good concept. It's just
Yes,
the way
he
that
is.
Thanks, Jimmy. Next time I'll mute you when you're going to come on. Couldn't help it. No, but what I mean by multi-purpose is done right. I think it's actually a really good concept. It's just I feel like the execution on the machines that have come out has not been the best. What I would love to see is somebody actually taking like a CNC router chassis that's good and sturdy and can do routing very well, but then make an interchangeable, say like a laser cutting attachment. Or to me, it's a little bit cheesy, but make a 3D printing attachment. The thing is, a lot of these multi-purpose machines, it might work fine as a 3D printer and a laser cutter because you don't have any load being applied to it. At the moment, you're starting to cut things, you're putting loads on things you never realized had them. All of a sudden, the machine just starts to self-destruct itself, and that's not a good thing. So I feel like if somebody really wants to make a good multi-purpose machine, they need to start with the most rigid machine that they can, reasonably speaking, for the application, and then work their way back from there, if that makes sense.
Well, I just can't imagine a machine using NEMA 17 motors or something like that trying to do that kind of work with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll post up some photos probably tomorrow of showing like an average size stepper versus what's on my machine. But you got to also remember it has lead screws, so it gets a lot of mechanical advantage from that.
That's true.
And 3D Print Creator made a good point. He goes, there's so much more to think about with a laser cutter than the laser itself. How about the fumes, the fire hazard, bad wiring, wrong material choices, etc.? Most multi-purpose machines lack enclosing, good ventilation, and stability needed for a laser. It's a really good point as well.
Yeah, because anytime you're using a laser on something, that material that you're etching or whatever you're doing to it is letting off whatever fumes are part of it.
Whatever lovely created junk that you probably shouldn't be breathing in. I don't care if it's wood, plastic, blah, 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 blah. You know, you don't want to breathe that stuff in. You don't want that getting into your house, or it's going to smell awful. At a very minimum, you want some kind of fan sucking the fumes up and pulling them outside, hopefully. You know.
Did you ever get yours set up?
My what set up?
Your was it the carbon filter with the blower and all that?
Yeah, my pot grow air filtration set up for torch work. Yes, I actually got that set up, and it actually works. If I have the nozzle, I have the air intake close to my work area, it actually does a really good job of sucking in about 75 to 90% of the soot when I first fire the torch up, and also the smoke and fumes from the flux with soldering. I could not believe it. It worked good. I just need to make it a little less janky and go from there. And 3D Print Creator, real quick, he said, has to go to work, almost 8 a.m. here in the Netherlands. Thanks for the stream. Dude, thanks for swinging by and dropping some truth bombs. Yes, much appreciated, much. Dude.
Thank you for joining.
Average Joe said he used to operate a turn lathe at a factory that had hundreds of knives turning thousands of RPM. Talk about dangers, especially if one of the knives turns loose. Yeah, that sounds like something out of like a horror movie right there.
Zipcord Calvin, after all the things you've burned as a kid, you're worried about fumes? Oh, it was outside.
I wasn't doing it inside my bedroom, popping the fumes like, oh, let me burn some wood here. Oh, I feel really good. Oh.
So you're into huffing fumes? What?
What?
I said you're into huffing fumes? What? Yeah.
It's a sealed can of white glue, guys. Don't worry. Or is the line from It's Always Sunny in Philly with, I think it was Mac and Charlie. I'm not getting high off this glue. I think it's the wrong stuff. Yes, it's non-toxic white glue. We want that good stuff. Not that I'm saying you should ever do that, but it was the great show reference I could think of in the moment.
By the way, Joel, if you're still in here, what's this I heard on your video earlier today about using, what was it, super glue and baby powder? What, can you fill us in on that? How does that work?
Well, I know for a fact that you can mix baking soda and super glue to make a really, really strong composite, if you will. But the only drawback is it gets really hot really fast. I'm not sure about the baby powder, though. Joel, fire away on that one. Or if you want to jump on the stream, we can send you a link privately. Just saying.
Mix CA glue and baby powder to make a paste. I have never heard of that.
That's weird.
I've got to try that.
I only know the baking soda and super glue one. It works good, but it's set. But it also gets extremely hot, so you got to be really careful if you're doing it on plastics.
Still, that'd be worth trying, though.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, that's good to know. It's sandable, because the baking soda and super glue stuff was like literally hard as rock. You could sand it, but you'd waste a lot of your life doing it.
I could imagine.
Great. I think I got some super glue. No, I'm just kidding. It
says baby powder does not get hot.
That's good to know. I think is it a much slower reaction, I think, based off what you're saying. It's not like it's instant. It kind of stays liquid for a little bit of time.
And do you happen to know what the mixture of, how many parts to how many parts, or does it matter?
I don't think it would matter too much. That's just my guess, but
Chelsea says she wastes a lot of her life sanding away.
I feel your pain. I shortened this little rail car shell up, and you can kind of see the seam right there. And I didn't have to do a fraction of the sanding that you did, because if anybody wonders why there's mistakes on it, I'm just going to say, well, it's an old beat up narrow gauge railway car. But yeah, trying to fill the gaps in on stuff can be a pain. I just use Squadron Putty, which is the same as like Bondo spot filler. So works good though.
It says super glue and cotton balls make fire.
Yeah,
did not know that.
It'll actually get hot enough if it's enough. I know when I've gotten super glue on cotton jeans, I've actually burned my leg once because it got so hot that it actually started to burn me. It wasn't anything serious. It was like starting to burn. I was able to pull them away. But yeah, cotton and super glue actually will react hot enough to create fire. Just also have to be careful because it releases a lot of those wonderful eye-burning fumes, and not fun.
So I like watching Bear Grylls and all those different programs. I like to learn how to make fire, so that's a good thing to learn. Up till right now, my favorite was a 9-volt battery and what was that? Like a Brillo pad. We call it the
steel wool.
Steel wool. You just touch it to it and it starts on fire. But fiddle, super glue and a cotton ball, that beats it.
The advantage of having super glue is if you get cut, you can at least use it to kind of bind it back up.
True. You use that a lot if you do a lot of fishing, because you cut yourself with a fishing line. You can just blew it. Be done.
Chris, late night science with Jimmy and Calvin. When we get done
All the stuff that we can come up with.
when we get done with the first hour of the show, then we just like go total psychos afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. One week I might show off my cornstarch blowing skills, but I'm not gonna go any farther with that one. Duo said he also burned his leg by dropping glue on his cotton jeans. Yeah, it hurts, especially when the glue's like starting to seep onto your skin and it's kind of stuck on there. So you have to make that split-second decision: do I pull some hair out, or do I get a minor burn? Neither is fun.
Hey, Joel says that accelerator works with baby powder paste.
Makes sense. You know, it's
Yeah.
I gotta try that. I think baby powder is pretty much just cornstarch, from what I know, plus some
Chelsea
fragrance.
says she must go make fire.
Don't worry, Chelsea. I've probably got about like 30 ways to make fire floating around the house right now.
Now's a good time for a public service announcement. The views expressed here are solely those of Calvin.
Come on, Jimmy. I know you want to try that fireball out when we eventually get around to shooting a really epic episode.
Yeah, we are.
That would be pretty fun. We do have to work on that eventually, though. Along with the Moai project, every other great project we've had.
Oh, man.
Chris was saying, I have a scar near my knee where I burned a hole with super glue about 30 years ago. It was about 1/4 inch deep for years. Dude, that's just graphic. Nobody needs to know that, okay? That's just graphic right there.
Oh, man. That would hurt.
That must have been awful.
I could imagine, man.
Duo said Practical Printing did some great Moai videos. Oh, heck yeah. Chris definitely knocked it out of the park with those.
Yeah.
Much drool from me.
How long do you think it's going to take us to build this one?
Please say an afternoon.
Think so?
I think so. I think honestly, if it's 2 people, you're doing it on live stream, I think it'd be easier because then one person could be, say, peeling paper off while the other person's building stuff. I mean, believe me, when you try and do anything on camera, where you're actually trying to like document it for documentarian purposes. Yes, I got your email, Dad. I just haven't looked at it yet. Sorry. But yeah, when you're trying to do documentarian reasons, it gets really takes a while. Put it that way.
Man. Yeah, if we get Curtis down here too, there'd be three of us on it.
Yeah, but then we'd all just be fighting over who gets stickers next. Or who gets to go to Indiana and get food, supposedly. Like, which one of us poor people has to go there and buy it for everybody so we can get the stream rolling?
You kidding? We just end up streaming part of the day, then run down to Nana's, and then we come back afterward, finish it out.
No, we did switch to like my phone to stream with, so we like stream ourselves eating food, and then we jump like back to your main set when we get back. You know, something stupid like that.
But yeah, we'll just take everything down to Nana's, and we'll just do it down there. Hey Gary, hold the camera. By the way, we need those baked potatoes quick.
It's on live stream. Give us some free food while you're at it. So before
today's episode is brought to you by Nana's Barbecue. Do all kinds of plugs for them. Is that another baked potato? Yeah.
So before I forget, my dad has been nagging me to do this, but he's asking me to show you guys the car to see if any of you guys can identify the car from the lathe video. So I'm going to pop it up on screen share for about 30 seconds here. And he's wanting, wow, Inception going on. He's wondering if you guys can recognize the car based off these two wonderful freeze frames. It looked like they were done in like 240p from the lathe videos where I built the belt conversion for this lathe after he totally nuclear bombed his gearbox jamming it. So let's see if you guys can recognize it. Yes, this is a floor cleaner, and yes, this is free stuff that he's gotten from like that toxic waste thingy. So I'll go back to the first photo. No, Dad, you can't comment yet because you already know what it is. Do you have any guesses, Jimmy?
So is that the Nissan that everybody keeps talking about, or is that a different car?
That's not the Datsun.
Okay. Is it an MG?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to me. See if anybody in chat figured it out. No, nobody in chat figured it out. Okay. No prize for you. A what?
Austin?
Nope.
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 Okay. What is it?
I'm going to give everybody another minute. If you guys, sorry. I'll bring it back up on screen. Sorry, Chris. Okay, I'm going to keep it up.
Nathan Allen took off. Have a good night, my friend.
Oh, good one. So I'm going to go back to screen share really fast because Chris was saying he couldn't see it, which is valid. One sec. So this is the car. So I can't look at chat right now or it's going to screw it up. So Jimmy, if anybody comments in chat, let me know. But this is the car that my dad's seeing if any of you car guys can figure out. And to help you along, no, it's not the Datsun.
Okay, so far you're just a frozen screen on this side.
Yeah, that's because I've got the screen share up.
Yeah, but it's just you.
Just me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fail. One sec. Now can you guys see it?
Well, surely it's not mine froze up.
This is weird.
Everybody else thinks it's a frozen screen. It's just you frozen.
Okay, I'm going to stop screen sharing it for a second.
Okay, now you're back to moving again.
Yeah, I'm still alive. Don't worry. Let me just see. Okay, so trying again now. Can you guys see? Can you see anything, Jimmy?
Just you frozen again.
Oh, screw that.
I think you're sharing the wrong screen.
I'm trying to share it. Weird. Okay, give me a drat. This isn't working because I'm using screen share and it's not coming up. That's
so do you already have your screen open? This is with the picture?
I have the screen open.
Okay, so you go to screen share and then you just share the window.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to try one last time. Screen share. I'm going to do the entire screen sharing. Can you guys see a stack of stuff?
Inception now. Now it's me. Now I'm away.
Okay, now I've moved it back to me, and
there's a picture.
Yay! Finally, hallelujah.
Okay, so you got to give us some guesses here. So, yeah, there you go. Average Joe 3D wants to know, is it American or import?
1 second. Let me look it up on my phone because I know what it is, and I don't want to say it wrong. And if my dad, if you're watching, fire away in the comments. Give me a second here. Need to look it up. That is if my phone's internet will work.
I think it's an import.
Give me a sec. Okay, I'll give you guys a hint in just a second.
Okay, so Robbie Noel says Opal.
No. Okay, I'll give you guys a hint. It is an import. And it was assembled in England. And that's all I'm going to say.
Okay, so it is an import, so that rules out all the American cars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he says, your dad says, hint, it's a British.
That's what I just said.
Okay, so Practical Printing, Triumph.
No.
MG.
No.
Austin Healey?
Nope. I'm gonna try switching to the other photo really fast if that helps. That's a view of the back end.
Average Joe just said Austin Healy too.
Nope.
I wish I could see the headlights on it.
I know. It's a killer.
Robbie Noel says Sunbeam.
Ding,
Franco
ding,
Frank,
ding.
not a Sunbeam Tiger.
It is.
Zipcord says, hint, get smart. Okay, so your dad said there's a winner. Is it the Sunbeam or the Tiger?
It's a Sunbeam Tiger.
Huh?
It's a Sunbeam Tiger.
Sunbeam Tiger. So Chris gets it.
All right, I'm going to turn off screen share. I can look at all you guys in chat going, I don't know what it is.
So what does Chris win? Datsun?
You have to pick that up with my dad, okay? I'm not the proprietor of the Datsun. I'm not the legal owner of the Datsun. Yeah, my dad. Yo, Dad, comment in chat all the specs of it because I'm not. Show full picture. I'm showing the pictures you sent me. Send me another one. Let's just say this poor thing has been sitting in the garage, partly finished for a long time. So now the tiny house is over. Hopefully somebody will have time to work on it again. Hint, hint.
It really looks like it's in pretty good shape.
All things considered, it's in pretty good shape. It definitely needed a little bit of body work on it. It had rat living inside it back at its old home in San Diego eons ago. But is that a third one? I didn't get it. Give me a second. But yeah, overall for its age, it's in good condition. It's just it still needs some help with body work, and I don't know all the details. It's been way too long.
Okay, we got people in here drooling now. Duo says refurbished Tigers go for 75 to 100,000.
Okay, give me a second. I'm going to call up the final photo of it.
Average Joe 3D Printing says the dream car is a 69 Camaro. Those 69 Camaros are nice. I have seen a few of those. They are cool.
Okay, so I'm now screen sharing. This is the other photo that I forgot to show.
Oh, wow. That is nice.
I think that's an older photo, but yeah, it's so what my dad did is I know for a fact that he got, I believe, a new front piece because he had to cut the old one off because it was in bad shape. And then he did some body work down here, some on the back and some on the inside. But yeah, it is one sweet car, I got to admit.
Your dad says it's the 101st one made. It's got a 289 Ford small block. Nice.
I'm gonna stop
but that electric fan doesn't belong on that radiator.
Nitpick. I don't know none of that stuff.
Well, they didn't have electric fans back then.
No, just some little fan that you crank. You know. Yeah, Chris, it is one cool car. I'll put it this way. If I'm in the area and you're in the area, I think my dad would gladly show you the car. He might even show you the Datsun while he's at it.
He's Chris is going home with a Datsun.
He's like, screw this. We're road tripping down to Calvin's place. We can all stream in front of the car. We'll just set the laptop up on another one of my dad's cars, and then we'll all just sit there and talk with it in the background and be like, yeah, we cool like that.
Called the poor man's Cobra.
Yeah, let's just say my dad has quite the collection of old cars in various states of running and not. But I will say he does have a really sweet Ford Pinto station wagon that he put his old Ford Turbo Coupe 5-speed in there, and he can do burnouts on the stupid thing, which is hilarious. Having a station wagon that can literally pull a burnout from a dead stop.
So Joe says his dad is sitting on 2 Studebaker Golden Hawks. Chris says Curtis can have the Datsun. He wants the Tiger now. Your dad says he has a Studebaker too.
Yeah.
Which one? Do you have a picture of that?
You'll have to comment on that. I don't. One of these days, he asked me if it would be possible to join the stream somehow. And one of these days, we're gonna have to get him on the stream again, so you guys can just like talk cars the whole time, and I can sit here and be like, yeah, my dad got a car. He can walk. We can do it during the day. He can like walk around the backyard with a laptop, like, I'm gonna got this thing, and I got this thing, and I got this thing. And this is my daily driver. This is my wife's car, my daughter's car, and da da da. You know.
A Pinto
He's probably watching it going, oh, good grief.
Yeah, my neighbor, he's working on a Studebaker right now where they was it the running gear of the Studebaker, whatever year it was, they can't get the parts for it anymore. So by switching the frame and everything to the newer version, they can get all the parts for it. So they did a complete frame suspension swap on this thing. And man, did he ever bite off a hunk, man. But he's just about got it done.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'll put it this way. When I say I'm not a car guy, I can do basic repairs on my cars, but I'm definitely not somebody who's going to be like, oh, let me go out and buy an old car and repair it. I mean, I have a ton of respect for people who do that, but I also know that I don't exactly have the time, patience, and skill. For me, time, patience, and skill is chopping up an old rail car in plastic to make it smaller so it fits on a chassis, you know.
Man.
My dad says you're talking about the Avanti, whatever that is.
Oh, probably that model that George is working on, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get a picture of it sometime. I'll send it to you.
Oh, my dad would probably be drooling over it. Whatever became of that Mustang that you were doing the sandblast job on?
Got it done, and they were going to take and get the primer put on it, and it actually turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to, because that thing, I'd sandblasted it a year before. They set it outside, and it just rusted up. So they had me re-sandblast it, and then they were immediately going to take it and throw some primer on it. But I was surprised it cleaned up as well as it did, because I thought, man, this is not going to be good.
My dad needs like your industrial sandblaster for like a week for all of his cars, so he can just get in there and knock all the crap off. Probably blow a bunch of holes through the rusty metal, but that's the whole point.
Yeah, find where the holes are and fix them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was using like a Wheezy air compressor with like some borrowed Harbor Freight sandblast thing that just, it worked, but it wasn't exactly what you would consider very very practical or efficient, but it got the job done.
They work all right. The only thing about those little sandblasting units is the air compressor that you use for it. You have to have a large air compressor. They gear it toward the little air compressors that you have in your shop, and that really a little air compressor in your shop will not carry it. You've got to have something that pumps out about 125 CFM or larger just to keep up with it. And
oh, yeah.
Your regular shop one, like a Sears one, is what, 1.5 cubic feet per minute. And, and if you get one that's a 220 model, you can get up to about 15 or 17 cubic feet. But in order to really run one, you've got to be up there up to 100 or more in order to actually run it efficiently.
Yeah. Oh, I know full well from what is it? From
Rick's out. Have a good night, Rick.
Night, Rick. I know from airbrushing, even using like those little pancake compressors from Harbor Freight, you'd think that'd have enough boom. You're going along, charge up. I mean, and then a little airbrush is not drawing that much air, but it takes a lot more air than you'd think. So when I was able to get myself a nice Pache, one of those little tiny self-contained no tank air compressors, I'm like, well, this is great. prime the thing because it's double action airbrush. You get the air going first to relieve the pressure, and then just start airbrushing away. You know, I don't use the airbrush very much because it's a real pain to set up and use and whatnot. But they are nice if you know what you're doing.
Yeah. What is the little pancake one from Harbor Freight? Like 0.9 cubic feet per minute?
If that, if you're lucky.
Takes like 20 minutes to fill up the little tank.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's all done. My dad said moisture kept clogging the line. Biggest pain. Have a 12 CFM now, 60 gallon, 3 horsepower from Harbor Freight. Also got the same day that he got the lathe that he nuked the gearbox on. Hi, honey. Yeah, we're gonna need the minivan before it died. Yeah, I bought something real big. Yeah, I spent money. Bye bye.
You what?
He's probably just sitting there like, oh crap. I probably said too much in the video. Get this phone call the next day. Thanks for roasting me on the stream, son. It was really great.
I'll get a text message. Go get them for me.
Catch me if you can.
Yeah. I know where you eat.
I think half of Winterverse now knows where I get my food. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting one of these days to be in there and just like bump into you or Curtis or somebody else and you'd be like, yeah, what's up, Calvin? Oh, hey, it's you again. What's up?
Where'd all the sandwiches go? They're all gone.
Like you and Curtis like running out with a big old tray of all of them, like, gosh darn it.
Oh man.
So my dad says he got the air compressor for $80 at the same time that he got the $100 lathe. Yeah, back in the days when Harbor Freight had true closeout sales, where they seriously were selling off things for a fraction of the dollar, were amazing. None of this closeout sale stuff where they just mark it down like $3 and you're like, it's not closeout. It's just your usual closeout sale.
I see we're losing Chris. Have a good night, Chris.
Later, Chris.
Well, it's 11:18. You want to go ahead and call it?
Yep, sounds good. I'm fading fast.
I got my birthday coming up here in a few minutes, so.
I mean, 41 minutes. Oh, we should keep the stream going then so we can totally roast you on your birthday.
I know.
One day, and then you know. Oh, Joel's
44 years old.
Have a good one, Joel. Thanks for swinging by, dude.
Yes, Joel, thank you for sticking by. I appreciate it.
I think everybody's scooting on us, so unless Daniel Nuyori jumps in here or Kat jumps in here, hint, hint. Then if they jump in, it's automatically you got to go on for like another 40 minutes yip yapping about stuff.
Thanks, Zipcord. Appreciate it.
Well, I guess we'll call it here. I'm fading fast. Everybody's got to go to bed and do adulting stuff in the morning. I'm still recovering from daylight savings time. Happy early birthday to you, Jimmy. I'm not going to ask what the number is because I'm going to be nice.
44.
I didn't ask.
I'm an old man.
Hey, I'm catching up to you. I'm only 26.
You'll never catch up to me. Thanks, Duo. Well, you guys have a good night. Take care, and we'll catch you next week on my channel.
See you guys later for more awesome madness, as always. Later.